Welcome to my Y&R Insider 24 update channel, everyone. Y&R spoilers. Jill's peace offering to Billy gives Chancellor back. According to the spoilers for The Young and the Restless, Billy Abbott and Jill Abbott might make an offering of peace in an effort to heal their differences. As a result of his most recent altercation with Lily Winters, spoilers suggest that Kane Ashby may hand over his UL software to Jill. Will Jill make use of the software to reclaim Chancellor and offer it to Billy as a peace offering? Kane Ashby can only be contacted by Jill Abbott. There has been a lot of talk about the possibility that Kane can only communicate with Jill. Everyone believes that Jill can neutralize Kane by stealing that AI program from him. Victor Newman anticipates that Jill will free Kane of the program and give it to him to use once more with Jabbo. Meanwhile, Jack believes he can talk Jill into giving him the program so he can use it to take down Victor. What if Jill decides to keep it and use the program herself? Victor has already published his attack piece on Kane, causing Lily and the kids to be even more hostile toward him. Kane was not helped by Jill's attempt to defend him. Instead, things have turned Kane's world upside down. Only Jill appears to accept Kane's account on this one. Kane Ashby is encouraged by Jill Abbott. Jill has attempted to instruct Kane to communicate with his children through his actions rather than his words. Before leaving him alone, Jill has hyped him to the best of her ability. Additionally, Kane has urged Jill to reconcile with Billy and her son. Given Victor's behavior, Jill might conclude that selling Chancellor to him was a mistake. Will she take Chancellor back? Jill might give Victor the impression that she will give him the AI program and use it to steal Chancellor from him. Both Victor and Nikki Newman would be furious if Jill did this. However, if Jill wants Billy's relationship to improve, she must take action. Will Jill finally grant Billy his victory by returning Chancellor to him in the manner in which it ought to have been given to him in the first place? Considering how Victor has always treated Billy, Jill may feel justified in doing this. Will the AI program be what helps get Chancellor back where it belongs? Will Billy in the end begrudge his mother what she did to Chancellor? Can Billy prove himself if he gets Chancellor back under his control? Billy's peace offering from Jill, Chancellor reclaimed and finally redeemed. The Young and the Restless has always thrived on generational redemption arcs, corporate rivalries, and intricate family feuds, and Jill Abbott's most recent plot is shaping up to be one of the most emotionally complex in a long time. Another crossroads awaits Jill, a matriarch whose ambition and pride have led to empires being built and destroyed. Her relationship with her son Billy Abbott has long been one of the most complicated in Genoa City history, a mixture of fierce love, bruised egos, and mutual disappointment. The return of Chancellor Industries itself may be Jill's final peace offering to Billy, according to spoilers. The twist, however, is how she plans to make it happen through a digital war involving Kane Ashby's controversial AI software. It's a blend of old-school corporate maneuvering and modern technological warfare that places Jill at the heart of a story that could redefine not just her relationship with Billy, but her entire legacy. The drama begins with Jill's confrontation with Kane Ashby, a man she has always seen as a son despite their checkered past. Jill's maternal instincts often clash with her business acumen, but in Kane's case, she has consistently believed she could reach the man behind the mistakes, the son behind the scandal. There has been a lot of speculation that Jill is the only person who can communicate with Kane in Genoa City. Kane's loyalty to Jill may be the key to taking control of the powerful AI program that has recently upset the power dynamics between Newman, Jabbo, and Chancellor, according to even the most pessimistic corporate players, Victor Newman and Jack Abbott. However, Jill's dilemma is not just one of power. It is also one of principle. She is torn between being loyal to Kane, loving Billy, and resenting Victor because he has treated her and her son like pawns in his never-ending game of dominance. In recent episodes, Victor's campaign to expose Kane's secrets reached a fever pitch. A damning report about Kane that was published by his media empire portrayed him as a digital manipulator and a threat to the industry. Kane felt betrayed by his actions and the lies he had spun to protect himself, and Lily Winters and the children turned on him as a result of the swift and brutal fallout. Kane's life, already teetering, collapsed entirely. Jill attempted, but was unsuccessful, to publicly defend him in the midst of that chaos. The perception that she was oblivious to his flaws was only fueled by her words, which were intended to humanize him. And yet, she remains the only person who still believes Kane's story. That belief might end up being the story's emotional pivot. To protect a man who has been abandoned by everyone else, Jill may find herself in a perilous position because of her compassion. At the same time, Jill's dynamic with Billy is reaching another critical breaking point. Although the mother and son have been estranged in the past, the current split appears to be deeper and is connected to identity and betrayal concerns. Billy has never forgiven his mother for selling Chancellor to Victor, a move he saw as both a personal and moral betrayal. Victor Newman's cabinet of conquered companies now includes Chancellor Industries, once a symbol of family pride and Catherine Chancellor's lasting legacy. That loss was not only monetary, but also existential for Billy. It reminded him of every time he was made to feel small, dismissed, or overshadowed by others' ambitions. Under tremendous pressure, Jill made the pragmatic business decision to sell the company. For Billy, it was proof that his mother valued strategy over sentiment. And now, as Victor tightens his grip on Chancellor, both Jill and Billy are haunted by the ghosts of Catherine's empire. In recent private scenes, Kane reportedly encouraged Jill to make peace with Billy. The irony is heavy. The very man whose actions have plunged Chancellor's future into chaos becomes the catalyst for Jill's potential redemption. Kane, racked with guilt and seeing the pain Jill carries, urges her to repair what's broken before it's too late. This emotional nudge could be what drives Jill to reconsider her past decisions. What if she could undo the worst of them? What if she could get Chancellor back and give it to Billy, not just for business but also out of love and remorse? The spoilers hint that Victor's recent actions are becoming increasingly manipulative, if not reckless, for Jill. Victor has become braver, less predictable, and more willing to destroy relationships in order to keep control. For a woman like Jill, who once admired Victor's ruthlessness but always maintained her own brand of class and cunning, that realization stings. She starts to see selling Chancellor to Victor as a morally wrong move rather than a smart move. Newman's avarice has corroded the business she founded and that Catherine entrusted her to safeguard. That guilt festers until it transforms into resolve. Jill decides that she's going to make things right not for herself, but for Billy, for Catherine, and maybe even for Kane. The method she chooses, though, is pure Jill Abbott, bold, dangerous, and dripping with irony. Both Victor and Jack are circling like vultures, believing she can wrest Kane's AI software from him. Victor wants the AI to weaponize it against Jabbo. Jack wants it to defend his family's company from Victor's attacks. Jill, though? She's always played her own game. She might use the AI herself rather than giving it to either man. Imagine the poetic justice as the woman who was once dismissed as an impulsive social climber turns the most advanced piece of corporate technology in Genoa City into her secret weapon to reclaim what was hers rather than destroy others. Jill could let Victor believe she's working for him, feed him just enough to lower his guard, and then execute a quiet digital takeover of Chancellor Industries using Kane's software. It would be a masterstroke of both vengeance and redemption. Such a move would also restore Jill's standing in the corporate world. For years, she's been a figure of respect, but not fear. By outsmarting both Victor Newman and Jack Abbott in one stroke, she'd reclaim her status as a power player. But more importantly, it would set the stage for an emotional reconciliation with Billy. It is deeply symbolic for Jill to give her son the keys to Chancellor, the same company that he believed she had stolen from. For Billy, it would be about trust and finally feeling seen by his mother, not just business. After years of being the problem child, the screw-up, and the disappointment, Billy might finally get his moment of validation. Naturally, this is the young and the restless, so everything has consequences. If Jill were to pull such a move, she'd make powerful enemies. Victor and Nikki Newman would be furious. Victor, in particular, would view Jill's actions as a betrayal of loyalty rather than business. He's not a man who forgives easily, and his retaliation would be swift and brutal. Jill's relationships across Genoa City, from Devon Hamilton at Chancellor Winters to Lily Winters herself, could be tested as the fallout spreads. The AI program itself could introduce new dangers. What if it's unstable? What would happen if Kane created something that is beyond control? Jill's decision could ignite a corporate war that pulls in every major player in town. Yet, amid all the potential chaos, the emotional heart of the story remains Jill and Billy. Their relationship has always been like that of Catherine and Jill, full of love but also resentment, mentorship but also rebellion. By taking Chancellor back and gifting it to Billy, Jill would be closing a generational circle. Catherine once believed Billy had greatness in him, even when he couldn't see it himself. Jill's peace offering could be the moment that prophecy is fulfilled. The gesture could also bring Billy back from the brink of his own self-destructive tendencies. Billy thrives when given a reason to live. He spirals when ignored. Jill's gift could give him purpose again, a reason to rise above his demons. Another layer to this storyline involves Jill's internal evolution. For decades, Jill has been driven by external validation, the need to prove herself to the powerful men around her, from Philip Chancellor II to Victor Newman to John Abbott. But this plot suggests a new Jill, one who's acting from the heart rather than the ego. She is not pursuing glory or vengeance in reclaiming Chancellor. She's doing it for love for her family, for Catherine's memory, and for the legacy she wants to leave behind. For a character who has been a part of Y&R for nearly half a century, that is a significant transformation. It's a sign of emotional maturity that could redefine her role in the series moving forward. However, Kane's willingness to give up his AI is crucial to the success of Jill's plan. In this case, his relationship with Jill is crucial. If she appeals to his better nature, the part of him that still wants redemption and family, he might hand it over, believing she'll use it responsibly. But if Kane suspects she's manipulating him, it could backfire catastrophically. It has always been Jill's strength to reach Kane, but even she can make mistakes. According to the spoilers, Jill will have to make a difficult decision: protect Kane or give him up for the greater good. She might choose to use his creation to save him, even if he doesn't think so, in typical soap fashion. Expect the emotional tone to grow stronger as the story progresses. Scenes between Jill and Billy could bring out some of the show's best writing, decades of unresolved resentment surfacing in sharp, vulnerable dialogue. Billy might at first be suspicious of her motives and reject her gesture. He's been burned too many times to believe in easy forgiveness. But when he realizes the risk Jill took, going up against Victor Newman himself, his walls may finally come down. Viewers could see a rare, tender moment between mother and son, a reconciliation that's been years in the making. Meanwhile, the corporate intrigue will add texture and tension. Victor's retaliation, Jack's strategic counterattacks, and Kane's moral reckoning could weave together into one of Y&R's most dynamic arcs. The AI storyline modernizes the soap's classic business battles, transforming boardroom espionage into digital warfare. It's a clever metaphor for how power has evolved, from boardrooms to algorithms, from inheritance to innovation. Jill, the eternal survivor, once again adapts, proving she can thrive in any era. In the end, whether Jill succeeds or fails, her attempt will define her legacy. If she regains Chancellor and gives it to Billy, she'll have achieved something Catherine herself would have applauded, restoring the company to family hands and healing an old wound. If she fails, she'll at least have shown Billy and the audience that she tried, that beneath her scheming exterior beats the heart of a mother desperate to make amends. In either case, Jill Abbott is portrayed in the narrative not as a relic of Genoa City's past, but rather as one of the city's most important and emotionally complex characters in the present. This arc is not just about business or technology, it's about legacy, forgiveness, and the eternal struggle between pride and love. Jill's peace offering to Billy could become one of the young and the restless defining moments of the year, a powerful reminder that even the most battle-scarred hearts can still find redemption, and that sometimes, the greatest empire one can rebuild is not a company, but a family. Spoilers for Y&R. Kane convinces Jill with Chancellor control that Nikki is right. The young and the restless spoilers reveal that Jill Abbott, Jess Walton, cannot be as evil as everyone says. Nikki Newman, on the other hand, has her wondering. Now it seems that Kane Ashby just may dangle regaining control of Chancellor Industries in front of her to lure Jill back to his side. Will Kane's proposal fail completely? Victor Newman purchased Chancellor from Jill Abbott. Billy Abbott's mother Jill sold Chancellor to Victor Newman immediately. Jill said that she was worried Billy would hit Chancellor and knock him down. Due to her own health issues, Jill was too ill to run Chancellor. Jill knew that Catherine Chancellor would be fine with Nikki running the company. On October 7th, Jill met with Nikki at the ranch. They may have started out well, But when Kane's name was mentioned, things quickly fell apart. Despite Nikki's attempts to persuade Jill that Kane was dangerous, Jill stood by Kane. It seems that Victor may have gotten through to her in the end. Jill Abbott and Lily Winters confront Kane Ashby. Because Lily and Jill will confront Kane by the end of the week, Victor must strike a chord. Because Jill believes everything Kane says, Victor does not know that Kane has Jill wrapped around his little finger. Kane may suggest that he only wants Jill to believe him and Chancellor. Catherine adored Kane and would give him anything just like Jill. Both Jill and Catherine considered Kane to be family, and Billy has argued this point. If Jill doesn't feel up to the task, Kane might say that he just wants to get Chancellor back for Catherine and run it himself. After all, over the past 6 years, Kane has demonstrated his capabilities. Kane would make sure that the company stays on track. Ashby Kane might play Jill Abbott. Kane might be able to persuade Jill to join the Newmans and the Abbotts and act as a pawn in order to stay ahead of their plans. However, Kane may also flout the idea of handing the company back to Jill or giving her some control over how things are run at Chancellor. Jill has 2 weaknesses, one is Kane and the other is Chancellor. According to spoilers, working with Kane and the possibility of running Chancellor once more might be just what's needed to get back on the Kane bandwagon. Will she once more act in opposition to Bill and hand over everything to Kane? The Queen's choice between her family and power. Jill Abbott has never been a simple character. She's fiery, passionate, and fiercely protective of her legacy, especially anything connected to the late Catherine Chancellor. Jill has demonstrated for decades that she is deserving of membership in Genoa City's elite circle. But now, with advancing age and health issues creeping in, her judgment seems clouded by sentimentality, nostalgia, and misplaced trust, particularly in Kane Ashby. Fans were taken aback when Jill sold Chancellor Industries to Victor Newman. It wasn't just a business decision, it was a betrayal in the eyes of many, especially her son, Billy Abbott. She justified her actions by claiming that Billy wasn't capable of running the company and that Victor, despite his flaws, could provide stability. Jill was ill, worn out, and possibly desperate to keep Catherine's company together. However, as time has demonstrated, her choices frequently cause additional turmoil. Now that Kane is back in her orbit, it looks like she might lose the stability she found. Jill has always been blind to Kane's charisma and manipulative charm. Jill's perception of him will never be the same because Catherine once adored him and treated him like a son. Kane is someone who understood what Chancellor Industries stood for, and that, in Jill's eyes, is a part of Catherine's legacy. That emotional vulnerability makes her the perfect target for Kane's next move. Nikki Newman's warning: Kane is dangerous. On October 7th, when Nikki Newman and Jill met at the Newman Ranch, their conversation got off to a pleasant start. 2 strong, influential women, both with history, power, and mutual respect. But mention Kane Ashby's name, and the civility evaporated instantly. Nikki, having seen Kane's darker side and manipulative tendencies, didn't mince words. She warned Jill that Kane wasn't the loyal ally she believed him to be, that he was using her, leveraging her emotional ties to Chancellor and Catherine for his own agenda. Jill, ever defiant, defended Kane. She brushed off Nikki's concerns, claiming that everyone had flaws and that Kane's loyalty to Chancellor should not be questioned. Nikki's insistence that Kane posed a threat hit a nerve, though, and fans could see the flicker of uncertainty in Jill's eyes. Nikki is familiar with Victor enough to know when someone is engaging in a prolonged scam, and Kane's behavior perfectly fits this description. Victor Newman himself has also been suspicious of Kane's intentions. When Victor advised Jill about Kane's motives, he was likely planting seeds of doubt, knowing that once Jill starts questioning someone, it's only a matter of time before she confronts them. That's exactly what happens, and it leads directly to the confrontation that could reshape alliances in Genoa City. The final confrontation between Jill and Lily with the Kane by week's end. Spoilers confirm that Jill Abbott and Lily Winters will confront Kane Ashby, and it won't be a polite family chat. Kane is a person who interests both women because of his recent actions, whispers about his ambitions, and his curious connection to the business empires of Newman and Abbott. Lily, having shared a complicated romantic and professional past with Kane, knows his patterns. She has observed how he uses circumstances to his advantage, frequently under the guise of family protection or doing what's best. Jill, meanwhile, has begun to question whether Nikki and Victor might be right about him after all. But Kane, always a nice guy, will try to control things. He'll appeal to Jill's emotions, telling her he only wants to protect Chancellor Industries, that he's doing it for Catherine and for her. He'll claim that his motives are pure, that if Jill doesn't feel well enough to take the reins again, he's willing to step up and safeguard Catherine's legacy. Jill will be reminded of everything she once believed about him by him when he says the right words and gets on the nerves. Kane is most dangerous when he is soft, persuading, and sentimental, not when he is loud or aggressive. Because those are the moments when Jill's defenses crumble. Kane's real game, using legacy to gain power. If Kane Ashby's recent behavior is any indication, his endgame is control, full control of Chancellor Industries. In addition, he is attempting to obtain it by playing a long and careful game. By dangling the promise of restoring Jill's power and reconnecting her with Catherine's vision, he's weaving a web of manipulation that could ensnare not only Jill but also the wider Newman and Abbott families. Kane knows more about Jill's mind than almost anyone. He is aware of her flaws, including her pride, her need for control, and her lingering guilt for choosing power over family at times. He gives her exactly what she wants emotionally while positioning himself for corporate dominance by offering her the illusion of redemption, a chance to make things right with Chancellor. Kane's strategy mirrors Victor Newman's own playbook: use emotion as a weapon, loyalty as currency, and trust as leverage. However, unlike Victor, Kane has a personal edge to his ambition. He isn't just after business power, he is also after validation, retribution, and a legacy. He wants to demonstrate that he belongs at the top and that the Abbotts, the Chancellors, and the Newmans undervalued him. 5. Jill's dilemma, torn between Billy and Kane. One of Jill's earliest wounds, her broken relationship with Billy Abbott, is also brought back up in this storyline. Their bond was already broken when Jill sold Chancellor under Billy's nose. Billy, always resentful of being overlooked, sees Kane as an outsider who has swindled opportunities meant for him and manipulated his mother. Any remaining hope for mother-son reconciliation could be destroyed if Jill now returns to Kane's side. Naturally, Kane will benefit from this tension. He will portray himself as the loyal son Jill had always desired, a person who respects her vision, comprehends the values of Chancellor, and does not rebel like Billy. It's emotional warfare, and Kane is winning it one subtle jab at a time. The decision will not be solely based on business for Jill. It will be about family, legacy, and guilt. She has always struggled to strike a balance between her heart for her family and her head for business, and this time, both are being taken advantage of. Billy is her moral weakness, while Kane is her emotional weakness. No matter what she chooses, someone she loves will feel betrayed. The Chancellor legacy at stake. Chancellor Industries has always been more than just a company. It's a symbol, a monument to Catherine Chancellor's power, integrity, and influence in Genoa City. Over the years, countless characters have fought to preserve or control it. In the Y&R universe, Chancellor is the center of old money respectability, from Victor Newman's business dealings to Jill's desperate protection. Kane knows this. This is why he is using the business as a bait. He taps into the deep emotional ties that characters like Jill and even Lily have with the Chancellor name by presenting himself as the heir to Catherine's legacy. Kane could gain moral legitimacy and control of the company if Jill takes the bait, making him the new face of Chancellor Industries. But what happens if Nikki Newman's warning is correct? What if Kane's true motive isn't preservation, but domination? Nikki and Victor's countermove. Nikki and Victor aren't afraid of being manipulated, and they won't let Kane outplay them. Victor will take it personally if Jill begins to lean back toward Kane. Chancellor, after all, is now under his control, and he doesn't like being outmaneuvered. Victor might begin looking into Kane's most recent actions in search of secrets or leverage to use against him. Nikki, meanwhile, could find herself caught in the middle. While her devotion to Victor will always take precedence, she also genuinely cares about Jill. Nikki has witnessed an excessive number of women in Genoa City succumb to the seduction of deceitful men. Her warning was about friendship, experience, and survival, not business. Nikki will probably be the first to say, "I told you so," in the event that Jill ignores her and Kane turns on her. The Newmans' response has the potential to rekindle corporate conflict between the Abbotts, the Newmans, and anyone supporting Kane. The stakes aren't just emotional anymore, they're financial, reputational, and potentially dangerous. Kane's final error, or masterstroke. Despite its cleverness, Kane's plan is also fragile. He is betting that Jill's loyalty will outweigh her logic by using emotional manipulation. But history has shown that Jill, when pushed too far, fights back fiercely. She will turn on him with all the fury of a betrayed matriarch if she realizes that Kane has been playing her and using Chancellor as bait. Additionally, Jill fights unfairly when she does so. Alternately, Kane could re-establish himself as one of Genoa City's major power players if he achieves success. Imagine Kane at the helm of Chancellor Industries, reshaping the company in his image, outwitting Victor and Jack, and manipulating the board. It would be the ultimate redemption or the ultimate deception. The traumatic aftermath. Jill's breaking point. If Kane's scheme goes wrong, as Y&R spoilers suggest it might, the fallout will be devastating. It will be up to Jill to accept that Nikki was correct all along. She will lose any remaining self-assurance as a result of her decision to defend Kane in spite of every warning. The guilt of betraying Billy again, of losing Catherine's company for the second time, could push her to an emotional breaking point. Lily is going to be caught in the crossfire as well. She'll regret not stopping him sooner because of her complicated relationship with Kane. This could reignite her independent streak, prompting her to reclaim her own power in the corporate world, perhaps even as the one to ultimately expose Kane's manipulation. Conclusion: a legacy of loyalty and lies. Legacy, loyalty, and betrayal all play a role in The Young and the Restless, and this storyline encapsulates all three. Jill Abbott is both powerful and tragically human due to her love for Chancellor and her misplaced faith in Kane Ashby. Nikki Newman's intuition and warning voice serve as the conscience of the narrative, a reminder that wisdom often comes from hard experience. Kane, on the other hand, is the charming manipulator from soap operas who believes his goals outweigh his costs. By demonstrating that he was only loyal to himself and not to Jill, Catherine, or Chancellor, he might disprove Nikki's theory in the worst possible way. The question that remains as the pieces move around Genoa City's chessboard is whether Jill will be able to spot the trap before it's too late, or whether Kane's false sense of loyalty will lead her to one final defeat. In The Young and the Restless, power never comes without cost, and Jill Abbott may soon realize that putting her faith in Kane Ashby might be the most costly mistake of her life.